Hi, I'm Ray and this is the PhoneArena Q&A. Khalid Suvalai is going to start things off this time. Hello Mr. Ray. As we've seen a lot of processor performance battle between Apple A7 and Qualcomm Snapdragon 800, and it can be said that both of them are showing some CPU and GPU performance. But after acknowledging their specifications, it can be said that the Apple A7 is far behind than the Snapdragon 800. Why both of them are showing nearly same performance and response in benchmark comparisons? Well, that's a very good question actually. The reason to have similar performance on such different chips is the underlying software platforms, iOS and Android. As iOS consumes significantly less system resources, there are more resources like CPU time left for third-party applications. Meanwhile, Android is a heavier system and needs more system resources in order to produce the same level of performance. Another reason is the fact that specs don't always directly translate into real-world performance. Our loyal follower Ashoaib has an interesting question once again. Hi Ray, thanks for answering my questions in episode 17. Ray, what is the reason more and more manufacturers are concealing the batteries in their phones? Isn't it a disadvantage because battery starts declining in performance right from the manufacturing date? Same battery which gave 2 days backup cannot give 2 days of juice after 2 years of use. Then why majority of phone makers ignore this fact and doesn't keep the option of user replacement? Well, I guess it's all due to their specific engineering ways that companies use to manufacture their phones. Having battery that's concealed inside a phone and no separate battery cover that can be removed makes for a device that feels more solid and sturdier. Plus, it enables companies like Apple and HTC to produce their fancy aluminum phones. And sure, having the option to swap those batteries mid-day is undoubtedly cool, but when it comes to battery capacity over the course of a few years, then degradation isn't really that great. And who keeps a phone for more than 2 years anyway? A question by Vedraj RM. Does the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact come with better viewing as in the Z2, or is it the same as the Z1, or it sits between the two? Actually, you've said it quite accurately. The Z1 Compact kind of sits between the Z1 and the Z2 in terms of display quality. It's an IPS display, but one that isn't particularly accurate, and this makes it better than the TN LCD of the Z1, but the Xperia Z2 will certainly have a better screen overall. Walid Bawazir wants to know, Ray, who is the responsible of updating the software for Android, Google or the handset manufacturer? And why is it taking a lot of time to wait for an update? Note 10.1 for example, thank you. Well, as a matter of fact, it really depends. If you've bought a Nexus device, software updates come directly from Google, and that's why they arrive immediately. In most other cases, if you've bought a phone from another manufacturer like Samsung or HTC, but not through a carrier, then software updates get pushed by the manufacturers once they have done their necessary tweaking and testing. If, however, you have bought the phone through a carrier, then you also have to wait for the carrier to do its own testing of the new software after the manufacturer's testing phase. And that's usually the case that involves the longest waiting periods. So that was all for today's episode of the PhoneArena Q&A, but be sure to post your questions below for next time or in our Q&A post at phonearena.com.